Not every state is out there trying to make your daily existence feel like a part-time hostage situation. Some states actually pull off a rare little magic trick where jobs, healthcare, safety, education, scenery, and general day-to-day sanity all lined up the way Andy Griffith promised us. Of course, no place is perfect. Every state has that weird uncle energy somewhere out there. But the 20 states on this list do a better job than most, giving people a life that feels less like survival and more like living. Let's take a look at the 20 states with the highest quality of life score. Number 20, Kansas. Kansas starts this list off the same way it starts most conversations, quietly. It's not the next hotspot, it's not chaotic, it's not trying to seduce you with ocean views or a killer club scene. But what it does offer is a pretty manageable life. Housing is often reasonable, traffic usually doesn't make you grind your teeth, and people generally know how to function without turning everything into a performance or a fist fight. The downside is Kansas can feel a little plain if you need constant stimulation. It's like the entire state was created with vanilla in mind. Some parts are growing, some parts are holding steady. And some small towns feel like they've been waiting for a new strip mall since someone shot JR. Still, if your version of happiness involves affordability, decent communities, and a lower chance of stepping over a guy playing drums on a 5-gallon bucket at every intersection, Kansas makes a decent case for it. And their quality of life score is pretty good. In case you don't know, the quality of life score comes from adding up a bunch of things: healthcare, education, economy, infrastructure, opportunity, fiscal stability, crime rates, and natural environment. The national average score is 52.37. The great state of Kansas is 53.9. 19. Vermont. Vermont is beautiful in the kind of way that makes people from other states suddenly think they should start baking sourdough bread and collecting more flannels. It's scenic, peaceful, and full of small-town charm that somehow still feels real instead of focus grouped. Life moves slower here, and for a lot of people, that's sort of the point. And they'd appreciate it if you'd stick to that plan if you start talking to Vermont realtors. Of course, Vermont's not exactly built for people who need big city convenience, desert sunsets, or low prices. Housing can be expensive here, winters can be brutal, and job opportunities are not endless unless your dream career involves maple syrup, bed and breakfasts, or remote work. But for people who want clean air, tons of nature, low stress, and a quieter life, Vermont is basically America in cardigan form. Where Vermont really excels in this, because they are expensive, and that usually brings down the quality of life. The nature, the low stress, the clean air, and very low crime. If you don't know, Vermont is always in the top 3 for the lowest crime in the nation. They're always there with New Hampshire and Maine. They just sometimes switch positions in that top 3. The quality of life score in Vermont is 54.5. 18. South Dakota. South Dakota doesn't get enough credit because it spends most of its time minding its own business and not making headlines. It's almost like they have a statewide fly-under-the-radar policy. That alone puts them ahead of 14 other states that always feel like they're craving attention. It has low population density, a relatively simple lifestyle, and enough open space to make introverts feel like they've found their happy place. Like most states, it's not for everyone. Winter is serious. The economy is not exactly bursting with a variety of jobs, and some parts feel isolated enough that your nearest entertainment option might be a gas station with above average beef jerky. But if you want room to breathe, nature, no traffic, average crime, low stress, and fewer daily hassles overall, South Dakota has a lot going for it. Even more so if you're retired and you don't mind the cold. South Dakota's quality of life score is 54.9. 17. North Dakota. North Dakota is one of those states that quietly works better than people expect. It has strong communities, low unemployment in many periods, and a practical, no-nonsense lifestyle. Nobody here is trying to sell you some fake dream wrapped in luxury condos and Gen Z nonsense. It's more like this: here's a decent job, a decent home, and a decent life. Try not to complicate it. North Dakota is a true blue-collar state with blue-collar values. If that's appealing to you, you could have a good life here. That said, winter in North Dakota is less of a season and more like a episode of Survivor, just not as fun. North Dakota's average annual temperature ranges from 37 degrees Fahrenheit in the northern part of the state to 43 in the south. January is the coldest month. Temperatures average around 2 degrees Fahrenheit in the north and about 17 degrees Fahrenheit in the southwest, with about 50 days on average below zero. But if you can handle that, the overall stability and simplicities of life here are a lot more appealing than many people realize. North Dakota's quality of life score is 55.1. 16, Illinois. Illinois lands here mostly because it's two states wearing the same trench coat. On one hand, you have Chicago and its massive economic power, culture, healthcare, and world-class amenities. On the other hand, you have the rest of Illinois, which feels more grounded, affordable, and practical. Together, they somehow average out into a state that offers a lot. The biggest problem is that Illinois comes with taxes and political drama that can wear people down over time. Still, if you pick the right area, Illinois can give you access to jobs, healthcare, education, and entertainment without totally falling apart on the quality of life front. It is flawed, but it has range. Illinois has a quality of life score of 55.6. Number 15, Montana. Montana is where people go when they want to feel bigger. Bigger skies, bigger landscapes, bigger personal space, and bigger odds that your nearest neighbor is a quarter-mile away and perfectly happy about it. For outdoor lovers, this place hits like a dream. Mountains, rivers, wildlife, and enough scenery to make your camera roll unbearable. Yeah, Montana is definitely one of the best states for outdoor people, especially if you like things like fly fishing and hiking in the mountains. The entire state's not mountains, but a good portion of it is. I love Montana. It's absolutely beautiful. There's not a lot of people there. Like we've talked about in other videos, Wyoming and Montana, back in the day, they didn't settle as many people because the environment was a little too harsh for 1800s farming technology. And those people moving west, they wanted places where they could farm. And Oregon and Washington and parts of California were a little more appealing than Montana, Wyoming, and parts of Idaho. And it takes generations to catch up, and they're still not caught up, which is fine for the people of Montana. They don't like having a bunch of people. Actually, they're a little irritated with the amount of people that are moving there right now. But the real problem with Montana is that Western dream comes with invoices. Housing has gotten a lot more expensive. Wages don't always keep pace, and services can be harder to access in rural areas. Montana is still a quality of life powerhouse if you value nature and freedom over convenience. But it's no longer the cheap escape some people imagine. The quality of life score in Montana is 56. 14, Maine. Maine feels like a state built for people who are tired of noise, nonsense, and having to pretend brunch matters. It's scenic, it's coastal, it's forested, and packed with little towns where life still feels somewhat human-sized. If a good day in your life involves fresh air, quiet roads, and not being trapped in 6-lane traffic, Maine starts looking pretty appetizing. Like we talked about with Vermont, Maine mostly gets on this because of the outdoors and its low crime. Compared to other states, Maine's crime is so low it's ridiculous. It's like they're playing a different sport type thing. I love Maine. I was just there like a year ago, October. It was great. I went there on a cruise. We got to, go along the coast. Then we stopped in Portland, stopped in Kennebunkport, Bar Harbor. Beautiful, beautiful state. And sure, they do have some places that are not that good, and just like every place, nothing's perfect. But compared to just about any other state, Maine is amazing. But Maine has the usual New England catches. Winters are rough, some areas are expensive, and job growth is not exactly launching into the orbit. It is a great state for peace and beauty, but maybe not the best for someone chasing nonstop opportunity. Still, if quality of life means calm, safety, and lobsters, with a side of isolation, Maine delivers. Their quality of life score is 56.5. 13, Minnesota. Minnesota is basically an overachiever that never needed to brag about it. Strong healthcare, good schools, decent job opportunities, lots of parks, and communities that function the way they're supposed to, without acting like every public meeting should end in a fight to the death over street signs and parking spaces. It's one of the more balanced states in the country. Now, obviously, we all know, and I've talked about it on this channel too, they have had some bad press recently. For the most part, that's just politics. I'm not saying they don't have fraud. Every state does. Theirs has just been exaggerated for political gain. Now, like so many on this list, one of the main catches here is winter. Minnesota winter is not cute. It's not really festive. It's not a postcard. It is 6 months of the atmosphere trying to teach you humility. But the rest of the package is so solid that plenty of people are willing to suffer through frozen nonsense for the payoff. It's also considered one of the best states for seniors. The quality of life score in Minnesota is 57.4. You know, everything feels a little more expensive these days. Groceries cost more, utility bills cost more, and somehow even the dumb little things you barely notice start adding up like they're working overtime to ruin your mood and your bank account. So lately I've been trying to pay a lot more attention to where my money is actually going, because apparently just swiping your card and hoping for the best is not a sound financial strategy according to experts. I'm also the kind of person who signs up for free trials all the time thinking, yeah, I'm going to totally remember to cancel that. That's why I'm glad to tell you about today's sponsor, Rocket Money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, track your spending, and manage your money a whole lot easier. So instead of playing detective with your bank account every month, Rocket Money does the heavy lifting and helps show you exactly what's going on. Which is great because most of us have better things to do than manually sort through charges like we're investigating a financial crime scene. It can also help you set up a budget that actually makes sense based on your real spending habits, not some fantasy version of yourself who apparently never eats out, never impulse buys anything, and lives like a monk with Wi-Fi. Rocket Money gives you a cleaner picture of your finances, which makes it a lot easier to save money without feeling like you're punishing yourself for being alive. So if you want to save more, spend smarter, and stop paying for subscriptions you forgot existed, check out Rocket Money. It's a simple way to get more control over your money without turning budgeting into a second job. Go to rocketmoney.com/Briggs to get started for free, or use the link in my description. Unlock even more features when you sign up for premium. Back to the video. Number 12, Iowa. Iowa has one of the most underrated quality life setups in the country. It is affordable, stable, and practical. Life here is not usually overloaded with noise, stress, or financial chaos. It's the kind of place where a lot of families can still build something that feels secure, which in today's America is beginning to sound downright mythical. Sure, you got plenty of people that say Iowa is boring. And yeah, to a lot of us, it is boring. When you turn about 45, maybe 50, boring starts sounding a lot more appealing. At my age, I'd rather be looking forward to the state or county fair, a decent brewery on the river, and nice people more than I need a nightclub, oceanfront dining, or strangers in sequined hats. If that's something you need, Iowa's really not for you. But for normal people who enjoy decent neighborhoods, low stress, and a low cost of living, Iowa makes a strong case. Iowa has a quality of life score of 57.5. 11. Virginia. Virginia has a lot going for it. Good jobs, strong suburbs, historic towns, coastline, mountains, and access to major economic hubs. It's one of those states that can offer different types of lifestyles. Northern Virginia is high-powered and expensive. Then other parts of the state, you have smaller cities and rural areas that can be more relaxed and manageable. There is a range here. You got your choice. The Northern Virginia area is where you're going to find a lot of people that work for the government, because right across the Potomac you have Washington, D.C. But for the rest of Virginia, other than a few cities here or there, it's mostly rural and small towns. Now, the weakness here, of course, is affordability in the more desirable areas. Northern Virginia especially can make your bank account tap out in the first round. But as a whole, Virginia offers enough opportunity, natural beauty, and decent infrastructure to stay high on any quality of life score ranking. The quality of life score in Virginia is 57.9. Number 10, Wyoming. Wyoming is what happens when you take traffic, crowds, and overdevelopment and tell them you're not interested. This is a state for people who want space, quiet, guns, and the ability to look out a window without seeing a storage unit facility and a vape shop. It's rugged, it's scenic, and deeply appealing to folks who like their lives uncluttered. The Cowboy State puts a lot of effort into living up to that nickname. Their official nickname is the Quality State, but most people prefer the Cowboy State. If you want to move here, you're moving here to get away from crowds and to be outdoors. That's what's so appealing to Wyoming. Matter of fact, the state has the lowest population and they're the 10th largest state. This entire state has less than 600,000 residents. That's 60,000 less than Portland, Oregon, which is considered a medium-sized city. And if you talk to people from Wyoming, that's fine. That's how they like it. Now, the flip side is the same that most states that don't have a lot of people have. Wyoming is not packed with amenities and endless career options. It can feel remote, and the weather can be mean in a very committed way. But if your idea of a better life involves less nonsense and more horizons, Wyoming is an easy sell for you. They also have a solid quality of life score. It's actually 58. Not bad. Number 9, Wisconsin. Wisconsin does a lot of things without trying too hard. It has affordable cities and towns, decent schools, strong healthcare access in many areas, and a culture that still feels like decent people live there. There is a little bit of everything in Wisconsin, from lake life to farm country to respectable urban neighborhoods to great beer and great cheese. One thing that I find interesting that is a true testament to how good their quality of life is in Wisconsin, they have the lowest percentage of students who leave the state after graduating college. They also have one of the highest rates of students going to the university in state instead of traveling to another state. In a strange twist, the only 2 states that beat them in that stat is Indiana and Florida at number 1. It also knows how to enjoy itself. There's a steady, practical Midwestern energy in Wisconsin that makes life feel more manageable. Yes, winters, like we've discussed in other states up north, can get ugly. And yes, some areas are dealing with the same problems everyone else is dealing with. But as an overall place to live, Wisconsin quietly punches above its weight. And they have a quality of life score of 58.2. Number 8, New York. Now, I'm sure a lot of you just choked when I said that. A lot of people associate quality of life with affordability, quiet, nice neighborhoods, but things to do, nightlife, amenities, good food, they play a part in the quality of life score as well. But New York is always tricky because people hear the name and instantly picture Manhattan. The rent, the rats, the ambition, the $20 salads. But the state of New York is much bigger than New York City. There's upstate towns, small metros, beautiful lake regions, strong healthcare system, and a lot of cultural and economic depth. The thing that keeps New York from climbing even higher on this list is the cost. It does bring a lot of people down. Even outside the city, taxes and housing can bite. Still, if you want access to great medical care, education, culture, opportunities, entertainment, New York earns its place. New York has a quality of life score of 58.2. Number 7, Pennsylvania. Now, in my opinion, I think Pennsylvania should be lower on this list, like number 3 or 4, but that's my opinion because I really like Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is like the country's utility knife. It's not always glamorous, but it's useful in a lot of different ways. You have major cities, small towns, mountain areas, farmland, historic communities, and a decent spread of job markets. There's enough diversity in this state that most people can find a version of life that fits them, but it's not without headaches. Taxes can be annoying, weather can be gray and moody, and some older towns feel like they have been surviving on muscle memory for quite a while now. But Pennsylvania keeps showing up on lists like this because it's more functional and livable than people give it credit for. The quality of life score in Pennsylvania is 58.3. Number 6, Idaho. Idaho has become one of those states people keep discovering, which is great right up until the point where everyone shows up at once and starts outbidding each other for the same 3 houses. Still, the appeal is obvious. It's got beautiful scenery, lots of outdoor recreation, low density living, and a pace of life many people find refreshing. And like a lot of other states, they got a real problem with people moving in. That seems to be the thing in this part of the country. Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, and even Colorado. They're done with people showing up. I've said this in other videos, but if you move to Idaho and people ask where you just moved from, I think you're better off saying you just got out of prison than telling them you came from California. And that's part of the problem Idaho has right now. Growth has made Idaho expensive, especially in popular areas. That has created a little tension between the dream and the receipt. But if you could still make the numbers work, Idaho offers a quality of life that's hard to ignore, even if they got a bunch of Californians moving in there. They still got plenty of room. I mean, it's the 11th largest state and the 37th in population. They barely have 2 million people in the entire state. Did you know Idaho used to be part of the Oregon Country, as they called it, which was claimed by both the United States and Great Britain? It didn't become technically part of the United States until 1846. Idaho has a quality of life score of 58.8. Number 5, New Hampshire. That's right, we're finishing off the 3 safest states at number 5 with New Hampshire. New Hampshire is one of those states that feels like it's got its act together. It's safe, scenic, and generally well run. It gives people a strong mix of natural beauty, decent services, and the kind of New England small town character that makes even a trip to the local hardware store feel like a town hall meeting. Again, like most of New England, it's not cheap, and the winter does come stomping in like it owns the place. But the low crime environment, quality of communities, and overall sense of order help New Hampshire rank near the top. It's a state for people that want peace, competence, fewer random daily disasters, and beautiful outdoors. They have a quality of life score of 59.1. Number 4, Utah. Now this one surprises me, mostly because I'm not a desert type of guy. And yeah, I know people want to say, oh, it's not really a desert state. It kind of is. When you live in some place like Oregon, and then you compare it to places like New York, New England, Wisconsin, Minnesota, it's a frickin' desert. But they do have great mountains and some of the best national parks we have to offer. Utah comes in at number 4, but it is tied with number 3. I put it here because someone had to take 4th, and I'm not starting a courtroom drama over a decibel. I just picked. Utah offers strong economic growth, good outdoor access, relatively clean communities, and a general efficient feel that a lot of states never quite figure out. For many people, Utah hits the sweet spot between opportunity and scenery. Wasatch Front gives you jobs and amenities, while the rest of the state gives you enough nature to make hiking boots cry tears of joy. The biggest issue is that growth and the housing costs are starting to test that formula quite a bit. Still, Utah remains one of the strongest quality of life states in the country. A lot of that has to do with family values and just, kind of like the work ethic and just the way the people are there. They like order, they like things to go right, and they really like people following the rules. Utah's quality of life score is 59.6. Number 3, New Jersey. Yes, New Jersey, calm down. Put the joke back in the glove compartment just for a minute. New Jersey ranks high because when you strip away the punchlines, it has a lot going for it. Strong healthcare, excellent access to jobs, high-performing schools in many areas, proximity to major cities, beaches, transit, and a level of convenience that's hard to beat. You can complain about New Jersey all day long and still secretly enjoy having everything within 20 minutes. I mean, they do. They got incredible taxes that are just through the roof. They got some places like Atlantic City that are just horrible. But the cost of living is the heavyweight problem. And like I said, taxes can be painful enough to make a grown man stare blankly at a property bill for 45 minutes. But quality of life is not just about cost. It's about access, services, safety, and options. On those fronts, New Jersey scores pretty big. Just don't judge it by what you see up against the Hudson River. Quality of life score in New Jersey is 59.6. Number 2, Florida. Yeah, I had to pick my mouth off the floor too with that one. I'm not a big fan of Florida. And then sometimes I am a fan of Florida. I'm bipolar when it comes to Florida, really is the situation. Florida comes in second despite all the jokes, chaos, humidity, and alligators that casually exist near sidewalks. People still love living here no matter what. Warm weather, beaches, no state income tax, retirement appeal, and a lifestyle built around sunshine have kept Florida near the top for a very long time. Of course, this state is also a bit like dating someone who's extremely attractive but deeply unpredictable and damaged. Insurance costs, storms, traffic, and rapid growth can all make life harder than the brochure suggests. But for a lot of people, the trade-off still works. Florida gives them weather, recreation, and energy that keeps it high on quality of life rankings. It's a great lifestyle, especially in places like Key West, the Tampa metro area, even Miami and Fort Lauderdale. That beach life is kind of nice. Now, I'm not saying those places are perfect, but overall, they're decent places to live. When you start getting inland a little more, that's when things get a little weird. Florida's quality of life score is 59.8. All right, before we get to number 1, if you're thinking about moving to any one of these states, there is a link for a website called Home and Money. They can get you in touch with a real estate agent anywhere in the country. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, Massachusetts. Massachusetts takes the top spot, and honestly, it makes sense. This state delivers where it matters. Strong healthcare, excellent education, good job opportunities, historic communities, and a high-functioning environment that gives it one of the best overall quality of life packages in the country. It is expensive, yes, but it also gives people a lot in return. Has the kind of infrastructure and institutional strength that can make daily life feel more stable and connected. It's not always warm, it's definitely not cheap or laid back, but if you want a state that consistently performs across the categories that shape real life, Massachusetts is hard to beat. It's basically the straight A student of the bunch. even if it occasionally acts like it knows it all. If I had the money, I'd probably live in Boston for a year, just to try it out. Probably would have when I was younger. I don't think at this age I would, but I'd like to live in a historic city like that. It's just terribly expensive. That's my biggest thing about all these. I don't like the expensive states, even though I live in Oregon, which is pretty expensive these days. Massachusetts has a quality of life score of 60.5. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and tell me what you thought about it in the comment section. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.